and welcome to Gefet in the Daf. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you with Yeshivat Risha and Hadran, learning Rashi, Tosfot, and sometimes more Rishonim on your sugya. And today, we're very excited to finish Masechet Yevamot, and I want to learn a very interesting machloket that is connected to many things that we've done lately, and also a very special maharsha that will talk to us about the end, the final words of the Masechta. So let's finish together. And we're starting with the last daf Kuf Chaf Bet, Amud Bet. The Gemara brings two braitot that seem to contradict each other, both of them describing something that Rabbi Tarfon did. Tanu Rabbanan, a braita. A man came to Rabbi Tarfon and he was aid an edut isha, saying that her husband died. Why is he being an aid? Because there's a question whether or not the woman of this man can marry another person. So he comes to Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon asked him, how do you know this wife's husband died? We were walking together, and there was a troop running after us. And he didn't have anything in his hands, but he looked around and he found a tree, and it was an olive tree. And he took a piece of the olive tree, and with that stick, he turned around, and all this troop ran away from him. I told him, Aryeh, wow, you're a lion, shkoech. And he said, how do you know my name is Aryeh? My name is really Aryeh. This is my name, Yochanan ברבי יונתן, אריה דמכפר שיחיה. לימים חלה ומת. So this person is saying, I know a man. How do I know this man? Because I was walking together with him and we had a very, very dramatic situation together. And through that situation, he gave me his full name and the place where he lives. And that's how I know that when he died later, he is the husband of this wife. Rabbi Tarfon listens to him and marries the woman on his words. Ve'isi Rabbi Tarfon et ishto. Asks the Gemara, Rabbi Tarfon lo ba'ed drisha v'chakira. How can it be that the story does not describe any questions that Rabbi Tarfon asked the man? He just listened and then, okay, this woman gets married. Vehatanya, we have a different commentary on the same story. And in this story, we have questions that Rabbi Tarfon asked the man. Okay, let's read the alternative story. Vehatanya, Masechet be'adam echad sheba lifnei Rabbi Tarfon la'ed edut isha. אמר לו, בני, איך אתה יודע עדות זו? אמר לו, אני והוא היינו הולכים בדרך, חטף אחרינו גיס, נתלה באיחור תאנה ובשחור והחזיר את הגיס לאחוריו. Up till now, it's the same story, just one difference. In the first story, the tree was an olive tree, and here the tree is a fig tree. Fine, that's not a big difference. אמרתי לו, יישר כוחך אריה. אמר לי, יפה, כיוונתי לשמי שככה רואים אותי ביתרי, יוחנן, בן יונתן, הרי דמכפר שיחיה, לימים חלה ומת. It's the same story, a different tree. Here is the difference. אמר לו, לא כך אמרת לי, יוחנן בן יונתן דמכפר שיחיה אריה? אמר לו, לא, אלא כך אמרתי לך, יוחנן בן יונתן אריה דמכפר שיחיה, ודקדק עליו 2 ו3 פעמים, וכינן את דבריו, והסיר רבי טרפון את אשתו. So here we have a description that Rabbi Tarfon, after the story, asks questions because he wants to make sure that the man really did know the man's name and really did know where he lived and did not mix them up. So this is a very big difference because in the first story, there is no question. And in the second story, there are questions that are being asked. So what's halacha? Do we have to cross-examine the aid that comes and describes to us that a man died? Says the Gemara, Tanaihi. It's machloket between two Tanaim. The Tanya, and botkim diday nashim bechakira ובדרישה דברי רבי עקיבא, Rabbi Tarfon אומר בודקים. So we have here two Tanaim, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon. One says that you do cross-examine the aid, and the other says, no, we don't. I'm just saying that in other Rishonim, it says that Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon are opposites, but it doesn't really matter. It's machloket between two Tanaim. The Kamipalge b'de Rabbi Chanina says the Gemara, I'll tell you why the Tanaim are niflagim. Why? Because of Rabbi Chanina. What did Rabbi Chanina say? Rabbi Chanina did not talk about Elichad B'dut Isha. Rabbi Chanina talked about Dinei Mamonot. דבר תורה, אחד דיני ממונות ואחד דיני נפשות בדרישה וחקירה שנאמר, משפט אחד יהיה לכם, מה הטעם אמרו דיני ממונות אין צריכים דרישה וחקירה, שלא תנעל דלת לפני לווים. Rabbi Hanina said a very, very famous statement. It's also in the beginning of Sanhedrin and other places in Shas. He says, Halacha mehatorah, all the edim in all the cases need to be doresh and chokir. But in dinei mamonot, hodaot vehalvaot, if we're talking about a loan, there you don't need. Why? Because you want to help the loaners to know that they'll get their money back. So you decide to go down from din Torah. It's a takana, the Rabbanan, also very interesting takana, shinui from Gefet Torah. You don't need drisha v'chakira and in the name of mamonot or hodaot vehalvaot. Okay, what's the connection between this to edut isha shemet ba'ala? Edut isha shemet ba'ala is not hodaot vehalvaot. Continues the Gemara and says, "Ubemai kamipalge." How is this connected? Mar savar, kivan deika ktuba lemishkal kedinei mamonot dami, umar savar kivan dekasher na'eshet ish le'alma kedinei nefashot dami. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what the machloket is. Edut isha is not dinei mamonot and not dinei nefashot. It's both. One thinks that since there's a ktuba here, it's like dinei mamonot, so you don't need drisha v'chakira, like what's in Rabbi Hanina. And the other thinks that since it's eshet ish, it's like dinei nefashot. It's much more chamur than dinei mamonot. Not dinei nefashot, it's like dinei nefashot. And therefore, you have to cross-examine the ed. אמר רבי אלעזר, אמר רבי חנינא, תלמידי חכמים מרבים שלום בעולם, שנאמר בכל בנייך לימודי אדוני ורב שלום בנייך, אדרן עלייך האישה בת רע, וצליקה לה מסכת יבמות. We have two lines finishing the Masechta, which seem to be totally disconnected to the sugya. Okay, so what will we do now after we read the sugya? We'll do two Rishonim about the sugya itself, and then we'll go to the Marasha to see whether or not this last words are really not connected to Yevamot. And of course, we will see that he thinks they are deeply connected. Okay, so let's begin with Tosfot. Tosfot's very short here, but he says something very interesting. En botkim yedei nashim b'drisha v'chakira, peresh Rabbeinu Hananel dekayim alan kehai tana, delo ba'ed drisha v'chakira. Tosfot tells us, if you were not sure what halacha is, I'll tell you what halacha is. We do not cross-examine edim in edut isha. We think that edut isha is like mamonot. This is surprising because I don't know if you thought that this reasoning is so easy. They say that edut isha is like mamonot because there's a ketubah there. We'll see the Ramban soon. But anyway, that's halacha, and that's what's been pasking in Shulchan Aruch. Says Shulchan Aruch, Eben Ezer Ilchot Ishut Siman Zayin Tzif Kaf Aleph, אין בודקים ידי נשים בדרישה וחקירה. ואפילו אם הוכחשו בבדיקה, כשרים, even if there's small contradictories, they're still כשרים, ואסור לדרוש ולחקור הרבה. אם לא במקום שיש לחוש לעורמה, אז צריך דרישה וחקירה. Says the Shulchan Aruch, sometimes you will examine the eating if you have a reason to suspect that there is some foilish to cure. But if there is no reason to suspect, you are not allowed to ask too much. You do not cross-examine them. That's halacha. So, still we need to understand a little more. How can it be that edut isha is more like mamonot and not more like nefashot? So, there's a lot of discussion on this commentary in the Rishonim and Achronim. I just want to give you a taste of the Ramban. The Ramban really asks this question, and he says, "V'kashya li, וכי מאחר דיקא דיני נפשות שאין הדין נותן שיהיה נאמן, למה הם מינו משום דיני ממונות שבו, וכי מקילים על דיני נפשות משום דיני ממונות? ועוד ארוסה, מה יקא למימר, דעליקא כתובה למשקל." Says the Ramban two questions. One, he says, I don't understand. Obviously, edut nashim is not dinei mamonot, it's also other things. So yes, there is a factor of dinei mamonot, but how can that factor change the other factor? Let's say you have a different deen that has nefashot and mamonot in it. Could it be that you will take the lower level of deen also to decide on dinei nefashot? It's like the O.J. Simpson's case, right? We have one question: does he own money? And the other question is he chayav? Right? Is he a murderer? So you don't mix cases. You should split the cases. Also in edut isha, you would split the case, give her a ketubah, but it doesn't mean that she can marry. Another question that the Ramban asks: how about arusa? What happens with a woman that does not have a ketubah yet? Arusa does not have a ketubah. Maybe it means in arusot, if an arusa does not know if her arus is dead, maybe you do have to test the aiding there. So says the Ramban, gives me two answers. He says, A, we have to understand, says the Ramban, that Edut Isha really does not have any nefashot in it. What it has is only mamonot in it, and also the extra, but it's not nefashot. And because it's not nefashot, if you will split the way that you are pasking, it will look like chucha v'itlula. If you'll tell her, here, you have a ketubah, but you can't remarry, that will look very bad. If nefashot was involved, we would split. But nefashot is not really involved. One thing. Also, he says, you can't split between arusa and nesuah because it looks as if arusa is more chamor than nesuah, and that will create people to think that the din of chachamim is chucha v'itlula. So you have to formulate one line. So he says, that Edut Isha does not have nefashot. If Edut Isha did have nefashot, it would be a different story. It does not have nefashot, and therefore we will not split the case because it looks strange. And that's another reason why we won't split the case between arusa and nesuah, because it will make people think that arusa is more chamor than nesuah, and that's of course an absurdity. That's one answer that the Ramban gives. Another answer the Ramban gives, Inami. Says the Ramban, הכי כאמר מן התורה, כל דינים שבתורה בדרישה וחקירה שכולן בכלל, והשת בתיקון רבנן שלא לדרוש בדיני ממונות, עדיין נשים נראה למי דומה לדיני ממונות דמי שאין בהם דיני נפשות, השת כלל, ויש בהם ממון לפעמים מרובן. אמר סבר, כיוון לשרין הנשתית בעלמא, עתה לדיני נפשות כדיני נפשות דמי, ואין מקלים בהם משום הממון שבו. The Ramban says, maybe also we do ask the question, what does it look like more? And Edut Isha in itself does not have mamonot always, and does not have nefashot always. But most of the time it has mamonot, and on very rare cases it has nefashot only as a second situation. So this is actually a question of really what it looks like more. And that makes sense, as the Ramban. Continues the Ramban and asks, okay, even if I understood how the reasoning goes, still I don't understand what's the connection between the Hodaot V'Havaot loans to Ketubah. Ketubah is not a loan. So Rabbi Hanina talked about loans. How do we take this idea and put it into Ketubah? So first answer the Ramban gives is Chachamim don't split Dinei Mamonot. All Dinei Mamonot are in one form. But then Ramban says, that's not really true, because some Dinei Mamonot like Knasot, you do need to cross-examine the eating. So says Ramban, I'll tell you what, Ketubah is like Hodaot V'Havaot. Why? Because why did Chachamim are metaken in Ketubah for a woman? Mishum China, so she can be married easily. So why do they do that? Because they don't want to close the door in front of marriage. So it's a different door, that is true, but it's the same formulation that Chachamim do at Takana in order to help people who are underdogs, who might have problems. So sometimes it's the loners, sometimes it's the women, but it's the same reasoning. So whenever Chachamim do a Takana to help somebody with money, therefore you understand that you have to stand forth and say, okay, we will also change the law in order to help be easier to receive the money that Chachamim say that this woman should get. So we saw that the Ramban really opens up the sugya and says many things. If you would have time to learn Biyun, we would have to learn other Rishonim, other answers to the fabulous questions that the Ramban asks. This was just really in order to give you a taste. So we saw the last sugya of Masechet. We saw that here, not only did we learn that we are Mekabel Echad, Edut Isha, Goy Masiach Lefi Tumo, Ed Mipi Ed. Also, we do not cross-examine the Eidim because we're pasking that Edut Isha is more like Mamonot, and therefore the din of Rabbi Chanina, Shelot Tinal Det Tifnei Lo Bin, will also be relevant here. Now, let's move to the second question that we asked. The last lines of the Masechet, Talmidei Chachamim Merabim Shalom Ba'olam. This is a classic ending to a Masechtot. There are many other Masechtot who end this way, and this is how the Maharsha opens, and says the Maharsha. Siyum de Masechet Yevamot, Amar Bi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Talmidei Chachamim Merabim Shalom Ba'olam. We say this every day in Tefillah. וכן מסיים בברכות, בנזיר, בכריתות. והוסיף בברכות עוד בפסוקים אחרים, שלום רב לא אוהב את תורתך. So, says the Maharsha, hey, bרכות, nazir, kritut, and Yevamot for Masechet, and approximately in the same way, bרכות, they had a bit of another thing. So, it could be, this is just a generic finishing. So, ask the Maharsha, umehecha nafka lehu, why did Chachamim choose to end these four Masechtot in this way? Says the Maharsha, אין ליתן טעם שסיימו כן בדלת המסכתות אלו משום דברי האגדה. The Maharsha says some people say that these Masechtot are hard Masechtot, and Chachamim and all the Masechtot want to finish the Masechta and Divrei Agada, which is true. Most of the Masechtot are end in Divrei Agada. So says the Maharsha, maybe the answer is in these Masechtot there was no Agada in the end. So we put in an Agada. The Maharsha says no. You can't say that answer. Why? Because Masechet Brachot ends in a different Agada, and that Agada is 100% connected to Brachot. So obviously, this addition is not connected to the idea that you need Agada. So says the Maharsha, Lichora, Nir'e, דוודאי בארבע מקומות אלו יש טעם בדבר דמסיים בהחגדה, ובמקומו שכל אחד יתפרש. Says the Maharsha, we need to work hard. We need to understand why the Chachamim choose to end dafka in these words, and in each place I will give you an answer. So if you want, you can check the Maharsha on all these Masechtot, but now we're in Yevamot. נראה הטעם דהך. What's the reasoning that here we finished in this way? לפי שיש במסכת זו דברים תמוהים לכאורה, כאילו קוראים דבר מן התורה. That's the Maharsha. Did you notice that this Masechta is very strange? All through the Masechta, we have things that Chachamim do that we're not used to seeing. Chachamim are okrim davar min haTorah. It looks as if they're okrim davar min haTorah. Through all of Masechet Yevamot, we saw it in Tosfot, says the Maharsha, that we learned together before Shavuot, Tosfot in Daf Kufchet. We saw also in the first parak, and we see here again to say that you don't need Yishar b'Chakira. It looks like Akira davar min haTorah. How can that be? How can we do this? ולזה סיים במסכת זאת בדרש הזה, תלמידי חכמים מרבים שלום בעולם, שנאמר, וכל בנייך לימודי אדוני, ורוצה לומר, דאין זו הכירה מן התורה, אלא דברים אלו נוגעים במידת השלום. Says the Maharsha, the reason why they're saying, תלמידי חכמים מרבים שלום בעולם, because you have to understand that whenever חכמים are seen to be okay דבר מן התורה, it's because there's another idea which is Torah on the other side, shalom. It's not that it's Torah and Chachamim are against Torah. It's Torah and Shalom, which is also Torah, that are two different things that Torah believes in. And what Chachamim are doing here is that they're taking Shalom, which is Torah, and putting it in other places. Continues the Maharsha and says, let's look at the Psukim, and each part of this Psukim is actually talking about a piece of the Masechta. Says the Maharsha, Ve'amar, Shalom Rav lo ovet toratecha, de'en zo akira elo mitzdat ha-shalom. Shalom, it says that there's Shalom here, and it's also Torah. וכתיב דרכיה דרכי נועם שלא תימץ בני בעלה ואם ייתן לה גט. אין זה נתיבות שלום ואין לה מון נכשול שתבוא לבעלה על דרך לא נמנה לצדיק כל אבן ואמר יהי שלום בחילך דהיינו שנאמנת להינשא לשוק ושלום בארמונותייך דנאמנת שתתייבם ותישאר בביתה ולא תתארגן או שיש לפרש שנאמנת שיש שלום בחילך אבל במלחמה אינה נאמנת ושלווה בארמונותייך שאומרת שמת על מיתתי. So he goes each sentence and claims that each sentence here is talking about a specific deen in the Masechta. Why it's emet, why it's shalom, why it's noam, goes din, and continues. Amar leman achai ve're'ai. Why achai ve're'ai? This is the sugya that we just learned. He'eminu ed echad, גם האישה עצמה נאמנת לומר מת בעלי או מת יבמי, והיינו למען החי. What's למען החי? To say that a man died so she could be mityaben to marry the husband. Ve're'ai. To say that if a man died, he doesn't have to be mityaben. She can marry other people. She can marry re'ai. על כן אמרו adabra. Why adabra? Adabra is ביחיד. Adabra says that it can be עד אחד. ועוד אמרו למען בית אלוקינו, שלא יתרבו העגונות. על כן אבקשה טוב לך לאישה. כמו שכתוב, השרוי בלא אישה, שרוי בלא טובה. הוא מסיים, says the Maharsha. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, שאין זו הכירה דבר מן התורה, כי הקדוש ברוך הוא נתן עוז וכוח לעמו, של תלמידי חכמים בדבר הזה להיות מקלים בדבר אדוני, שהרי אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. So I want to just repeat the last sentences of the Marasha. It says the Marasha, why are we finishing this Masechta? Hashem oz lamo item. Because Chachamim need oz. And they need to understand the lo akira davar min haTorah. The Kadosh Baruch Hu gave the Chachamim the strength to be oker, or to be look like oker, because he knows that they need to do shalom. שהשם יברך את עמו בשלום, בכל נתיבותיה שלום, ואין כאן שלום אם תתאגן. And continues the Marasha and says, that's also why we say here, יישא אדוני פניו אליך. גם לעקור דבר מן התורה. God will be נושא פנים, he will accept, even לעקירת דבר מן התורה. Why? Because God is giving you shalom. ובכן סיימנו המסכת זאת לשלום. כן, יזכנו אלה ללמוד וללמד לשלום. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. So, with this bracha of the Marasha, and with the Marasha telling us that Yevamot is about the strength of Chachamim that God gave them in order to be doing Shalom Ba'olam, we finish this amazing Masechta, very special Masechta, with very crucial things to understand and the way that Torah works and about the Koach of Chazal, and we're continuing B'ezrat Hashem to Masechet Ketubot. So, Mazal Tov and Yishar Koach to all the Mesaimot and Yishar Koach to all those who are joining us for Ketubot, learning Daf Yomi and Baruch Hashem, learning more about Torah Sheba'al Peh, understanding more about what it means and what its ability to be doing Shalom Ba'olam does. So take care and we'll meet soon again learning Ketubot.